I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is William Ramsey. I've got great upcoming guests like Christopher Key, Christian Yordanov, Ollie Ray, Metamystics, and John Cursat. Be on the lookout for those. Also check out my films. Occult Louisiana is on Tubi. Doors of Perception is on Amazon Prime. I'm booking guests for May. If you have suggestions or you'd like to be a guest, email me forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Today I want to welcome back to the show William Ramsey. He is an attorney, author, and researcher. Graduate of the University of California, Berkeley with a degree in history. He has authored several books and produced documentaries. William, welcome back. How you doing?
Doing great, Chris. Thanks for having me back. Glad to be with you.
Thanks so much for coming back on, man. You've got some great information to share. We're going to get into some of the revelations brought to us from the Epstein files. You've done some recent deep dives into many things, including the cryptic messaging and coded words within certain emails, as well as the obscure deviant art. But we're going to start with some information about the correctional facility and his actual death today, which is very interesting, which you were sharing with me before we got started. Before we get into anything, though, briefly remind the audience a little bit about yourself and let them know how they can find more.
Well, I was originally an author. I've written 5 books, so I was on a lot of shows. And then I've made 5 documentaries that are on my Patreon. But then I also started kind of being a host, and I started a podcast called William Ramsey Investigates. I tried to be like an investigative reporter. I've had a lot of guests on, so that is in the top 0.5%, like the top 20,000 podcasts in the world or something like that. And you can find it under William Ramsey Investigates. And my Patreon has a lot of stuff ad-free. And my books are on Amazon if people are interested.
Excellent. I think today we should start with some of the information you were sharing with me right before we got on about the quote-unquote suicide, the footage that was found, and some of the behind-the-scenes information that you got from the files themselves that I have never even heard before. So where should we start with that?
Well, we can start with what we were told publicly. He was arrested. He was only arrested by himself. He was just a pedophile, not part of some larger group. And he was arrested at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey on July 6th and put into what was the MCC. It's kind of famous in Manhattan. A lot of famous people have gone in there. I think one of the Mexican cartel members, and I think even Maxwell was filtered through there. But he was put at the MCC, the Metropolitan Correctional Center, and that was July 8th. And he started, he was there, and then we heard that he tried to commit suicide. That's what the public was told on 7/23, so that's July 23rd. And then he supposedly successfully committed suicide on August 10th. Of 2019. That's what the public was told. What's inside these files is way different. There's a fully different narrative, and there was a lot of investigation done by the authorities that, to my knowledge, was never revealed to the public. And this is, if you can see this on the screen share, this is their own internal death investigation, and it's from the field office. And you can see this EFTA number. This is how, in huge kind of cases with a lot of paperwork, they're called Bates numbers. So you can correlate this. If you go to the justice.com or .gov's thing, you can just type in this EFTA 00161-494 or any of these Bates numbers and pull up these specific documents. So this document, to my knowledge, was never made public until these files were released. The most latest tranche or release was, I think, January 30th, so fairly recently. But it tells a different story about Epstein and what was going on when he was in that jail, and its timeline. They actually put together a timeline, and they kept giving him these psychological tests and stuff like that. But they say he denied suicidality. You see this at 7/11. Mm-hmm. And then this whole thing happened on 7/23. This Tartaglione, who was in there for killing 4 people in a kind of a drug-related murder. He was a cocaine trafficker. He was a dirty cop, and it's very strange to have this guy who is a big giant guy on steroids with Jeff Epstein.
You
But
put him in the same cell, right?
yeah, same cell.
Wow.
And Epstein told officer that Tartaglione tried to kill him and had been harassing him. Tartaglione claimed he'd been asleep and woke up to see Epstein with a string around his neck. So like these different stories, he's telling people he's being killed. They're trying to kill him, but then they put him on suicide watch, right? And then if you go down this, he keeps denying these things. 723, 724. Epstein denied suicidality. This is 24. I have no interest in killing myself. It would be crazy. Although he was depressed and happy. On the 25th, he denied suicidality and said he was too vested in my case to fight it. I have a life and I want to go back living my life. Now, if you remember when he was arrested back in 2007, he got out and was given kind of like a slap on the wrist. I mean, he was a felon, but he was able to like go home to sleep and stuff. And he had to report as a sex offender, but he might have thought that he was going to come out the other end. At this point, this is kind of early in the case. He'd only been arrested 20 days. Clinical contact. Epstein denied suicidal ideation, intention, or plan, and referred to himself as a coward. And I'm Jewish. And said he was not someone who liked pain or would ever attempt to harm himself. There's no evidence. He was actually a very fastidious eater. No alcohol, no drugs, no smoking. And it's shown in this. And he also like had special diet. Like he ate kosher at certain times in his life.
Interesting.
727, I'm a coward. He keeps repeating this thing. He's almost every day he denied suicidal ideation. So what the public's being told is that he's on a suicide watch and he's suicidal on 23. But the internal investigation is much different. It tells a way different story. There's no mental health issue. 730, again, Epstein denied suicidal ideations, did not appear in immediate danger. Then it's like, again, then they hand him a form on August 1st, 2019. He was seen for a suicide risk assessment. Seemed surprised there was a form noting suicidal tendencies. So they gave him a form. Like they gave him a form to like say that. And he's like, he denies he's suicidal. All the way up to the 10th. So then he is found dead early in the morning at 6:33. It's activated. And one of the things that's very interesting about what was given to the public is that camera was not working on the day, and it shows the layout of this kind of cell. The MCC is broken into almost like a 2-story internally, where there's a lower story, and you have to kind of come upstairs to get where Epstein was. And if you see this number 220, that's Epstein's cell. I don't know if you can read that on there, or your viewers can. But that camera at the end of that corridor was not working on the night that he died. And what the public is given, and there's actually a link in the federal documents, is the camera that shoots out all the way over the staircase into this part away that's away from his cell. It's not his cell. So what the public saw for 10 hours, they're like looking at nothingness. There's no camera evidence of a cell. They didn't say that to the public.
Was the roided out Italian guy moved to a different cell before all of this?
He was moved in and then out. It's very sketchy. This is the actual cell of Epstein. And that camera, if you see on the far left, that camera was not working. So there was no real camera on the night that he died.
If you're listening on the audio end, come over to YouTube or Rumble. We got some great visuals here.
These are consistent with other pictures of Epstein that I've seen. He had a kind of hairy body, and you can see on this, his neck looks like he has a deep contusion on it. If you look in, this is 8:10, so this is the incident log. Why is somebody there at 6:30 a.m. with a camera? How do they know to take his picture? They also have him strapped down where his wrists are tied together in almost like a tie. Like, why is that? It doesn't make sense. Like, why are they restraining him? They seem to be working on him, and the indentation on his neck is not consistent with something like what he used, which was supposedly a cloth piece of his shirt or something like that. But he's tagged, like he's bagged and tagged. This is supposedly what caused that that injury right there, right? This is
Yeah.
supposedly it.
I mean, I guess if it was tight enough, it's hard to tell though.
The autopsy shows that he had broken things. It's called a hyoid fracture. It's something very consistent with strangulation, which
Hmm.
is a bone in your neck, and that was broken according to this autopsy in this report. He also had two cartilage, like around your neck. There's cartilage, and those were also torn. You can see pictures of that here.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff is consistent with strangulation, but one of these documents are interesting because of the detail. Like somebody put a lot of time in this. This is like a 118-page document that's in here. Talks about systemic failures, Tartaglione. I don't think the public has ever seen this,
It
and it
doesn't sound
shows.
like it. This is the first I'm hearing any of this.
Okay, good. Because I mean, sometimes I don't watch TV, so sometimes some stuff slips by me in the mainstream media. But you'll see these, if I sent you the document so you can look through at your leisure, and I'm happy if you share that with your guests if you'd
Yeah, I'll
like
have
to.
that in the description as well for everyone to look at.
Okay, cool. It's very long. This is 1,000 pages, but you can see that they're showing the different angles of the video cameras. So they're showing these
Hmm.
different things, and the video camera that was given to, and you can see this tier system. I told you it was 2 stories. It's really tier is a much better word. So there's a bottom and a upper tier, and Epstein was on the upper tier. And the SHU Special Housing Unit within the MCC, he was on L tier, and that camera at the end wasn't working. And you can see the Epstein cell. They didn't show what they gave to what I'm trying to reemphasize, and it's unbelievable. But what they showed to the public, they didn't tell the public that isn't actually his cell. They led you believe it was a different cell. It wasn't his cell. His cell was his first cell. And if you're able to kind of go in, the person who was watching him was literally almost an arm's reach away. That's a desk. That's where this woman was supposed to be on the night of his so-called suicide. It's just sketchy on top of sketchy on
Yeah.
top of sketchy. Yeah.
Nothing about it makes sense. And you would think at such a high level facility to even have one camera down, that seems super sketch to begin with.
Especially with that high level of a thing. Like if you remember at that
Yeah.
time, he was all over the news.
Yeah.
Like he was all when he was arrested and people, but I think it showed these internal documents show with clarity the cell and what kind of what they allege happened on that night. So they have all this pictorial evidence, pictures, layouts, accurate layouts. Like this is what we're told to the public. This
Yeah.
isn't even the right camera. It's not the right camera you can see Epstein's cell. It's not showing his cell. So when I first saw this, maybe the public has a different thing, but I would assume they're showing us his cell. They weren't. What they showed to the public isn't. They put out like 10 hours of something like video that wasn't it. So this is the non-recording camera. It says right there, non-recording camera. That's over his cell. Like, fix it. You know, it's just like this
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. It goes on, but there's so many. One of the interesting things is how many pictures there are of Jeff. So this is the first suicide attempt. They have it all down. This is 7:23, 1:20 in the middle of the night. Type of incident, possible suicide attempt. He's asleep. He's been drugged or something strange is going on. He's in
Yeah.
something other than a conscious state. Is
Right.
the way I would term it.
Yeah, he looks like he's passed out.
And they took tons of pictures of him trying to figure out what's going on. And then you can see this guy Tartaglione. There he is. Nicholas Tartaglione. And there's pictures of him when he's not in jail. And he is just he looks like an animal, dude. He has huge muscles all over. Have you seen the pictures of him out of jail?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. Maybe we can find him. But you can kind of tell that he's a bodybuilder just by this. I think those are his delts, right?
Yeah.
So there's a report here of them being together, Nicholas Tartaglione, Epstein, and Epstein's like,
I wonder if it's common to put someone else in the cell of someone that high level that is involved with such high level crimes. You're just going to throw in some random dude who was a murderer and violent criminal along with him. That seems sketchy as well.
it's a great point. And they go back like in these, if you read through, like I've read through a lot of these documents, they're really fascinating because they're like, well, looking back, it seemed like it's a really bad decision. So they acknowledge it after the fact that this is a terrible decision. They put him in with a four. What Tartaglione did is he got burned in some kind of coke deal. And so he had the guy who burned him come to like a bar kind of about an hour or two north of downtown of Manhattan. And then he killed him. And then the guy's friends came to the bar, three of them, and he shot them all in the head. And then he buried him on his property. Like this isn't like a guy who like did bank fraud. This is a violent dude. Like that's what he got caught. Who knows what else he was up to, you know? There's differing reports here, but Tartaglione's calling him a pedophile. If you read some of the stuff, it's additionally, Epstein stated he can recall an incident that occurred 2 days prior when Tartaglione called him a pedophile. Epstein also stated he knew Tartaglione was upset and let him cool off. Epstein stated he does not have any issues with This is what he's saying. He said no issues, and he feels safe being. I don't believe that this is accurate.
Yeah.
And Epstein stated he does not feel suicidal, so he keeps saying that over. And if you go through these things in detail, Epstein tells another story to other people, and Tartaglione has he has a bad mouth. Like if you read this, there's like N-word. I mean, those effing N's. This place is inhumane. I wish I could report it. That N Hobbit MFer.
It's so difficult to tell what's real or not. Within these high impact events, everything from 9/11 to COVID to Charlie Kirk's assassination to the Epstein files, Epstein's death, there's always these aspects that seem to be poorly scripted and put together in such a fashion that it was only put together for it to maintain a certain narrative. And once you start picking it apart, it all falls apart and none of it really makes sense. It's like they're truly writing a script to perpetuate these narratives.
That's a great point. I was thinking about that before we started recording, is like this narrative. It's like this whole thing about like messaging. What messaging do we want to convey? Not even what's true. It's like, this is the message. And then you see these kind of like, whenever, like even in a case, a criminal case, whenever there's these variants of stories, you have to really perk up. And there's a real difference between what's in these files and what the public was told. There's a huge difference. So I think we were told a whole line of baloney. And I think they wanted him dead because Brunel supposedly committed suicide in jail. There's tons of pictures of Epstein and Brunel together. They were very close.
So interesting, man.
He hurriedly, as inmate Epstein was being placed on stretcher, he would open his eyes and observe staff. When staff made eye contact with him, he would hurriedly shut his eyes. Like, how strange is that? So he's like playing dead or something. That's what they were reporting. This is Officer Anderson.
Yeah.
And then you get in and he's like, Tartaglione's trying to kill me. And Tartaglione's like on the floor reading the Daily News or something.
Oh my
Like
God.
his story doesn't make any sense either. Like
Yeah.
I asked the inmate what happened. He stated that approximately when he got up to get a drink of water, he remembers walking back. He didn't respond. He only remembered hearing himself making like a snoring sound, or that's what Epstein said. But it's really interesting. Like if you like these true crime stuff, these cases, these documents are incredible. And that's the whole interesting and as an overarching view of the Epstein files. There's all kinds of different stuff in the Epstein files. There's emails. There's these internal documents. There's financial records. There's civil litigation files. And there's just like they just threw it all out. And it's very like the process of redaction is in a story of itself. If you remember, now I'm kind of going off topic from the MCC, but it's almost like they just haphazardly said, here it is, just have it. We're done with this. And so some of this stuff leaked out. Like they didn't redact this, but they redacted a whole bunch of other stuff.
There seems like there's enough information within these files to start multiple investigations on multiple people, if not make arrests. Some of this is so damning and bizarre, but the information is there. It seems like you could at least start to investigate some of these monsters out there with this.
You're absolutely right. And one of the interesting things is the guy who originally was the head of the SDNY, the U.S. attorney, right? That's a federal attorney. His name is Geoffrey Berman. And he said that they only had like a specific part of the FBI to target Epstein because they didn't want any leaks. So they had like a 10-man team or whatever that the rest of the FBI didn't know. Once he was arrested, Berman started writing these internal memos talking about other perpetrators and other corporations involved. Both of those documents are in the Epstein files. And I can bring those up. They're fascinating. They're heavily redacted. It's really strange that I'm not surprised they got redacted, but it counterbound. It's a counter statement. It actually follows up to what you actually just said, but to the public, it's like, well, they didn't investigate. Berman started the wheels of that investigation were happening after Epstein, and then Berman suddenly gets fired by Barr. If you remember that, so in 2010, all of a sudden it's gone, and then all of a sudden we're back to that narrative you said. It's just Jeff and Ghislaine. They're the only pedophiles. It's a huge network. There's probably hundreds of perps.
It's so disheartening to think that our judges, juries, and executioners are all psychotic criminals in charge of our system. And this is who we're supposed to rely on for justice, is the people that are involved with the crimes.
Yeah, it's bad. And I think that the incentive, especially when there's a massive cover up, is just to go along to cover your butt, so to speak. And I think that's what they did. But it's these documents, there's terabytes, there's a vast amount of documents, 6 million documents. I haven't even been able to go through them. The way that they're presented is another part of the cover up. Like, imagine you're the government and you only can scan it 10 documents at a time on the search thing. So if I put in the last name of Tartaglione, it only shows me 10 responses at a time. It doesn't show me 500 or whatever. It may say there's 500 hits. So it's also just a like archaic thing. What they did when they wrote the Epstein Files Transparency Act, I think in September of 2025, it was a one-page document. They didn't spend enough time saying how they wanted the information out and how it was going to be assessed by the public, because the public really wants to know. I want to know. And so when they put it out, it's a slop job. It's just a total joke, especially with the computing power they have today. They could have done just some kind of data accessibility that's very advanced, but they chose to do something like a Radio Shack version or something like from 1980. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy.
So you think he's more than likely really dead? It seems like it'd be easier for them to just off him than keep him alive and hidden away in Israel or something, but who knows?
He did go to Israel. When he first got arrested, one of the strangest things about Epstein is he got on a plane and went to Israel, which is very weird, especially when he was being investigated for a felony. He left the country. So maybe he wanted to get out, but I do think that there's too many people that didn't know they were being blackmailed. They just thought Jeff was Good Time Jeff. Yeah. They didn't know that he was like videotaping. And so then that started coming out. Oh, Jeff videotaped me while I was there with that 10-year-old girl. And one of the other false narratives is that Jeff just like young girls. There's stories of like 5-year-old kids getting raped, babies disappearing, literal diaries of teen girls going, "Where's my baby? Am I a baby incubator? Am I a baby incubator?" They're writing it to themselves. Like a lot of women do diaries and think about stuff. Maybe men do too. But these are very personal. And I actually find that their statements are real. They should have been investigated. It's really interesting because you said this thing about like investigating. There were 200 civil cases. Not all of them are in there. So who knows what the evidence of these 200 civil cases? They're all kept. One of the things is like these civil cases, usually when they're settled, NDAs are signed. That's a part of the settlement. Like, I'll give you money, you don't talk, right? And you go away. Some of these leaked out. And so we don't know like the totality of the kind of like industrial scale of the stuff, but it's huge. But these people, like, this very dark, man. It's like witchcraft type stuff. And there's occult references too. I have a whole file on the occult stuff. He was interested in kind of high level occultists. who I know, like Hyatt and Tantra and Krieg, some of these guys who are modern or post Crowley
Yeah.
occult writers. He bought books about them, so he was interested in Tantra and sex slaves.
That's
He bought
so
a lot of books on
crazy.
sex slavery, like how to have a sex slave.
That is not surprising, man.
And
I'd
it
love
makes
to get.
sense.
Yeah, it does.
One
Now,
of
I'd love
these,
to get into the code words. I know you've
okay.
done some work into this, but before we do, is there anything else that we didn't go over as it relates to the MCC or anything related to that?
It's just all very suspicious. There's a lot of pictures in there in that file I sent you. Feel free to, like I said, feel free to share it. One of
Yeah.
the elements of the MCC is other people came in to investigate, and he tells one people, "I'm not afraid of Tartaglione," and he tells these other people, "They're trying to kill me.
Yeah.
Tartaglione's trying to kill me." So it's very different than what we're told in the, and that's what you'll see through these Epstein files is it's actually like taking apart the word you use, narratives, or what I call messaging, this kind of like what's going to work for the public, how are we going to put this through like a test group or something like that. The Epstein files just totally degrade and erase kind of what we think we knew about this whole situation.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts.
It's
I wanted
nuts.
to get into the code word because this is huge as it relates to speculation online right now. Many people think that most of the code words being used relates to extremely horrific crimes against children. I'd love to get into some of the evidence that you've come up with.
There's a lot of strange code words, and some of them correlate with the investigation with the Podesta emails. If you remember, this was an important thing in 2016, was the Podesta emails during, I mean, it's crazy that these releases have influenced our political system, but they really
Yeah.
have. And what happened is WikiLeaks with that young, allegedly, I don't know if it's true, the kid from Omaha, Nebraska, who ended up suspiciously dying.
Hmm.
Um, those were released, and then it became known as Pizzagate because people went through the Podesta files and went, "What are all these weird words? What are they always talking about pizza all the time?" So in these things, the same thing. There's pizza. There's weird references to cheese. The same
Beef jerky.
shrimp. Yeah, jerky. Like I could do a whole show on jerky.
Mhm.
These guys have private chefs. One guy's name is like David Perry Lang. He's a known chef. He like literally flew around with Epstein. So there's pictures of them in the picture files. I have a whole new, like I downloaded every picture in a long format. They kept them in 100 picture sets, and you can go through them and watch Jeff. He's never cooking. He never. There's somebody behind him giving him a plate or a salad. So he's a very fastidious like a selective eater. And these guys are rich. Like he's got hundreds of. He can eat whatever he wants.
Mhm.
Why does he have all these strange coded phrases like grape soda and pizza? Who drinks grape soda? It's kind of like an urban thing.
Yeah.
Like I've had a grape soda, like maybe when I was a kid or something.
Yeah,
But
when I was
what?
a kid, it's like maybe 10-year-olds will have some grape soda, not any adults that I know of.
And when you like those files that I sent you, when you say they're using these terms and weird things, it's not like they're actually thinking about food. Like I'm going to come over, we're going to talk about business, and then grape soda and pizza or something. Like he's talking to that about his urologist. He
Hmm.
literally is like asked. This guy is like a specialty with ED, like erectile dysfunction, and he's like, "Hey Jeff, take this pill, and then let's go get some grape soda and pizza." Like how weird is that with a doctor? Like
Right.
you're going,
He's saying take an erection pill so then we can go eat pizza and grape soda. How much fucking sense does that make?
there's also specific ones. Some people have found chicken parm. Like they have this obsession with chicken parm. Like, why don't you just have your chef cook it? They want to go out and get chicken parm, and it correlates with child porn, right? So
Ugh.
cheese pizza, chicken parm, and child porn, the same letter, the same alliterative phrase, I guess is the way you put it.
Ah.
And so we don't know how deep it goes. There's really racist stuff in here. They had something like going out for a snipe hunt. You can see it on the files I sent you. Snipe hunt for moon crickets, moon cricket is a very
Yes.
racist term. I don't even know if I should say that. I didn't know what it was, but it's a very racist term from like the old South.
Yeah.
And so they're snipe hunting for black people. Are they hunting black people? And there's weird thing about deer. There's a couple things that like the island, if you remember Little St. James, it's not that big.
Mhm.
And there's like weird things about deer. Like, we got to get the deer off the island. And they went on a night hunt for deer, and they put them on the boat and crashed the boat. But they're like, we got to get these deer. Who feels an emergency to get deer off the island in midnight and then crash your boat because you can't see? It doesn't make sense. Like, I can play that video for you, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's a weird video, and it seems like like, why wouldn't you, like, if you have a nuisance with coyotes, you hire a hunter or somebody. Like, you just, like, why would you worry about the deer?
So much
Doesn't make sense.
documented incriminating things that were sent through emails. I'm wondering if these people were just that entitled and they feel that above the law that they can include vague code words about some of the most horrific crimes that a person can do and feel like they're going to get away with it, or are they just naive and stupid because they've been in that realm for so long they don't think they can get caught?
He avoided like criminal prosecution for 40 years for what he was doing. And he told things. One of the other interesting elements, which is a whole nother show, but if you remember when Berman arrested Epstein, they had this like press conference, and he had a board, and he was pointing at the board and all this stuff. And Berman, they go down the board. He goes, "If you have any information about Epstein, call this number." Right. So it was an intake. It was a number for intake at the FBI. Well, most people didn't use that number. They just thought he was joking. They got hundreds of calls. And all those documents are in the Epstein files. So you just have this huge tranche of people going, "Hey, I know this guy. He was operating in California. Hey, this guy was in Mexico. He was in Juarez," different things.
Mm,
He was hanging out in this is important to you. He went to some conference in New Orleans where Jimmy Savile was there. And he was
interesting.
with a blood drinker from Switzerland, like weird stuff.
What?
Yeah, I'll send that one to you because I know you're from Louisiana.
Yeah, yeah.
And close to New Mexico, a lot of New Mexico stuff. So people are telling. So when you stated earlier, like, why didn't this investigation take place? It was covered up. It was scuttled, I think. Yeah, this is an interesting one. These code words. This doesn't make any sense. Sorry to hear that. Did you eat something bad? What is it, Jeffrey Epstein? Thank you for your concern. Not food, people. And then a picture of a tiger, and the tigers eat these little pigs.
Yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah.
whatever. Like,
What?
it's weird too. Like, so the guys who are doing the redacting, some pictures got redacted and some didn't. Like, how did this get through? I don't know. I don't know why some of, like, the incriminating pictures got through. What they told the public, this narrative was, we're trying to protect the victim. A lot of the victims came out. Like, they're
Mhm.
saying, "I'm a victim. This is my whole name. That's my real name." So why? So that doesn't make any sense either. But they're not supposed to redact the perps, and that's what they did. They were covering. The Trump administration is so corrupt. They started the redaction process right at the beginning. There's an internal document from March 2025. Trump wins. He doesn't get into office till January 20th, right? And they're all promising, and Bondi's on Fox News. They're on my desk. They can't be on her. This is another fake message. There's no way they can bring on her freaking desk because it's like 18 terabytes. Like, there's 6 million documents. So there's no way that there's a stack on her desk for her to go through. They were in Northern Virginia with a team of 100 guys. This is not me making it up. I can show you the article. There was 100 guys redacting overtime, getting paid bank to just go through. And there were instructions, like I was trying to say earlier. There's instructions in March on who to do the redactions, and it literally says redact all presidents, celebrities, and possible perpetrators. So the Justice Department was involved in redacting important people from these files. So some of them, the unredacted. Oh, who has the unredacted files? The Trump administration, right? So
Mhm.
they give the public the redacted, they keep the unredacted. Who knows all that information? Who's looking through it? Who are they playing Trump about it? I don't know. I have any idea, but something tells me for people who don't know, Blanche, when they came out, they were forced to release these files to the EFTA, or so they would be breaking the law because it was a congressional legislation, right? So they had to fulfill the requirements of this one-page EFTA, the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which isn't transparent at all. But when they came out, Blanche said, we have 6 million documents, but we're not releasing, I can pull up this video, we're not releasing 2.3 million documents because they contain elements of death, torture, and child porn. Like he literally said, the new term is CSAM, so it's child sex abuse material. He literally said that in public. So they only release half the documents and the other ones aren't released. It's just, you can't even believe this stuff, man. But the code words, get back to you to kind of bring it around circle. There's a lot of creepy code words between him and his friends and Woody Allen. Like I'll show you this one with Woody Allen. This is just crazy. Like Woody Allen's he's like hanging out with celebrities and stuff. Oh, he's like, you eat the people. Oh, here it is. Thanks. Let's see. To the ejections, I don't like waste. And then Woody Allen or Jeff says, because you also eat the bones, providing fiber. I don't like waste. At least I'm thinner. Thanks. Oh, hearts. He's talking about Idi Amin. Idi Amin, he didn't just cause heartburn, he ate them. Hearts. And then Woody Allen, thanks. At least I'm thinner because you eat the bones, providing fiber. And then the response, I don't like waste. What the hell is that? Yeah, what is that?
Oh man.
This is and like I said, you can just check these documents. EFTA 00781-929. You can check them yourself. I gave you that PDF. Feel free to share it with your audience. I don't mind.
It's so hard to imagine how extremely wealthy and depraved someone has to be to go to lengths of cannibalism. They must have gone through every other depraved act before that and gotten bored with it until they say, what else can I do that's more horrible than beating a person or raping a person? Maybe I could kill them and eat them. That'll bring a thrill to my life. And that seems to be what's going on with these extremely powerful people. They just run out of things that give them that thrill, and they have to move on to more horrific and depraved things to get that thrill again.
I think you're right. And it is a historical evidence. If you look at like Madame Bathory in Czechoslovakia, where she bathed in blood, like she got away with a lot, or Gilles de Rais, it's a part of elite depravity. Gilles de Rais was like the most powerful, he was the Marshal of France, which is like the top military guy, but they think he killed like 500 boys, and so and like did horrible, unspeakable depravity. So I think that Epstein was like that. Like he couldn't get his kicks anymore, so it was like eating people. I do believe that they're involved in cannibal. The chef that he used, and there's these emails to the guy's name, ran a restaurant in Manhattan called Cannibal. Like they weren't even hiding it. And then you see the connection. We talk about this kind of like thing of like influencing elections. The Epstein files were very important in this most recent election. At least they kept talking about a list because they didn't know what was in the totality of the files. So like, where's the list? And then they put out a list. The list isn't it. It's just the totality of the files in the network. But the tie between the Podesta files and the Epstein files is Marina Abramovich, who, once they read through the Podesta, like, oh, we're meeting up with Marina Abramovich, and she's going to do blood rituals, and she does these fake cannibal things, right? So she invites these celebrities. There's pictures of it where they're eating a cake that looks like a person, or they have a head poking through the thing. Well, back in Epstein was part of this kind of what I believe is an influence operation. It's called the Edge Foundation, and almost every like tech overlord you can name was involved in this. And there's documents in there where he and this guy Brockman are trying to get these tech people to go to a private meeting with Marina Abramovich, but they're touting her as like this cutting edge artist, she's really on the thing. But they didn't say, by the way, she does freaking spirit cooking and pours
Hmm.
pig's blood and human, effluent, whatever, human bodily fluids on top of, elements. Like that's what's public.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. Just to kind of expand on what you said, I think they're depraved. There's like elements of vampirism in this. Like it's just,
I
and
saw an image of what looked to be a human torso being served on a table that was also stuffed with some other various foods, and it was in the position of a Thanksgiving turkey with the legs tied up in the air, and it was extremely disturbing. It looked like it had been cooked, and it's surrounding the table are various very powerful people and celebrities. Have you seen this photo, and do you think there's any validity to it?
I have seen. I think the one is like looks like two chickens. Is that the one you're talking
Yeah.
about? Yeah, I have. I couldn't find it within the files, but it would be consistent with these other things that are in there. The deviant art, the shrimp thing of like the kids, and it ties in. If you remember the Podesta, he had that picture up on the wall of like people cannibalizing somebody on a table. If you remember that,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
and his brother had all that weird art. So I think that when you look through Epstein stuff, he had close relationships with known kind of what could be, I call them deviant. I don't like the word degenerate because it sounds kind of too Naziistic, but I would call them transgressive artists. One of the guys' name is Serrano, who did the artwork for Metallica on their album covers. And then another one is this guy Coons, who you can do a whole show on his kind of elite. I mean, people pay through pay hundreds of $1,000s for this art.
Mhm.
And so these guys are all, the Epstein network is very much involved in art and transgressive art and relationships, like long-term relationships. There's emails back and forth between Epstein and Serrano all the way up until 2018. So 2010 to 2018. And also their connection to these artists and like wealthy, famous people. Like Serrano's asking Epstein to set him up with the Pope. He wants to meet the Pope, and he also is
Huh.
telling Epstein he's going to Cuba. He's Cuban. Serrano's Cuban, and um, he's going to Cuba to meet like Raul Castro, Fidel Castro's brother, and his son. Like, whoa, you're really connected. So you're
Yeah.
friends with Epstein. And actually, one of the interesting elements of Serrano is like, if you remember Piss Christ, do you remember that art? Do you ever hear
Vaguely,
that?
yes.
It was kind of like the right wing in the U.S. got freaked out, like this sacrilegious. That was the guy who did it. Was this guy Serrano? He was friends with
Oh.
Epstein, and he did this other. But one of the interesting things, the last picture of Epstein was taken by this guy Serrano, and so it's before he got arrested. He was supposed to do a portrait, like a painting portrait, but he
Mhm.
took his picture, and it's in these like references, and of course he distanced them. They all distance themselves from Epstein, Bannon and Lutnick and all these other people, but it's a
Yeah.
huge network. That's really what you see beside even the stuff that's unredacted. You see this kind of deviant art, this fixation on like the massacre of the innocents, which is just crazy, which is this episode in the Bible where, Christ is born in Bethlehem and the wise men of the king say, yeah, and according to prophecy, he's going to be born there. And the king says, we'll kill every child under 2 years old because I don't want him to survive. And so the massacre of the innocents is a depiction of that. Epstein wanted a 9 by 9 of that depiction of the slaughter of these kids, and they put it in the entryway to what I call Hell Ranch, is the Zorro Ranch in New
Mm.
Mexico.
Yeah.
That's one of many. If you remember the blue dress of Clinton, he
Yep.
had that. There was another artist there. It's in the files that I showed you. It's just like he was really networked within. And the thing is that artwork functions for a lot of these rich guys as collateral. So
Yeah.
what and money laundering too.
Money laundering, yeah.
Yeah, so they'll give people stuff from like there's things in the files of like exchanging antiques, so people get an antique somehow. But what they do, what the elite does, it's tax free too. So it's like a
Yes.
tax evasion scheme.
Mm.
But they'll get a piece of art. Let's say it's worth 25 million, or they'll get somebody to appraise it at a high rate. This is what I think, in my opinion, Hunter Biden was doing. Like his art slop. Like I wouldn't buy it, but he gets it appraised for 500,000, and
Mhm.
then if that appraisal is good, he can go get a loan from a bank on it as a collateral for 100,000. So if he just makes an art and gets it appraised, he gets a loan, and if he reneges on the loan, they can just take his piece of crap art. Well, they do
Yeah.
something like that through these high end, very like there's talks between Epstein and people about like Leonardo da Vinci paintings and things like that. Um, and this is actually very similar to what's going on with Podesta, as they're involved in it. Alephantis was involved in the art world. And so they get those and they put them in, and it's a tax free thing. And then they do loans on them. And then they can finance their business or their illicit stuff. And there's a lot of, I mean, I don't know if the financial kind of analysts have really gone through Epstein, at least not to my knowledge, but I think there's going to be a lot of that stuff discovered.
Yeah.
And
It's
he had
wild.
$80 million in the stock market, so he was definitely involved in the market and making bets, shorting stocks and putting puts on bets,
Shit.
based upon information he got.
That is so wild, man. Well, you mentioned his interest in the occult, these strange gatherings that they would have with spirit cooking and ritualistic activities. Also, in the email that you wrote me, you mentioned eyes wide shut style parties and things like that. Talk a little bit about what you've uncovered regarding some of those strange occult practices.
They literally mention eyes wide shut in these things. Like, do you have an eyes wide shut party? And there's people from these documents, like I can show you, who this one woman was in Eyes Wide Shut, and she's in the files. She was
What?
literally an actress. Let me see if I can pull this up. But the overlaps are to me are pretty obvious. This is the woman's name, London House. She's literally sending something about some of these things, like uh, I was in various movies, only small parts. Though the last movie I did was Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. There she is, right there, London House. But there's
Wow.
also these secret societies and all this stuff in here. So there's, all this Eyes Wide Shut references. There's also a secret society that's revealed that I never heard of called Zodiac,
Mm-hmm.
which only had 12 members, but one of them was Tom Brokaw. So, like, there's a secret Tom Brokaw who's like interviewed every famous person and politician is in the secret society network, right?
Yep.
And they're moving people around. And Melania, who strangely came out and gave a speech. Like, this is so strange. Without her husband, totally solo, saying, I'm not involved with Epstein and I want it investigated by Congress. Well,
Yes.
she has this 8-pointed Star of Ishtar. She literally, you can go watch it um, on her website right now. You can go buy it. And there it is. Like, this is Alice from Eyes Wide Shut, literally like eclipsing or occulting the Star of Ishtar,
Yeah.
Tom Cruise. And one of the other interesting things in correlations is this magic circle. So, to kind of a casual observer at the end of the show, which is about Eyes Wide Shut is about a pedophile network. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
literally about, it's part of the element of the entire show, and it involves Helena, excuse me, who's bottom here, the red-haired Scarlet Woman, both red hair, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, this magic circle on the bottom left, people at first glance would go, "Oh, that's a nice board game." It's actually a real group of magicians, and King Charles III is actually a part of it, and also David Copperfield and David Blaine. So these are well-known magicians who are also part of this magic circle. It's a real organization. This is Ecosphere from Twitter, and Copperfield has a very sketchy background, and that's not my opinion. There's like other people, like he had his own island.
Oh
So
yeah.
this own island network included Epstein, Peter Nygaard, the guy from Virgin Records, Copperfield. Like, these people are different than the guys working 9 to 5 jobs. But this magic circle is really something else. And then there's the drugging. Like, Epstein, people believe Epstein was drugging stuff. So there's stuff about amnesia. He was studying mental states, and he had a lot of kind of sophisticated people around it. I don't think he was sophisticated. He did not have a college education. He did teach at a private school, but he was exposed to this network, and I think it kind of blended off. So there's Blaine. These guys all they just have sketchy backgrounds. This is this beautiful girl. She ended up dead jumping out of a window. In Eyes Wide Shut, if you remember, one of these people involved in the cult ends up mysteriously dead. And this was this girl. Like, she had everything in front. Her name was Ruslana Korshinova. And, the police called it a suicide. So it's like Eyes Wide Shut or Chinatown, where like this girl decides to, on her 21st birthday, jump out.
Yeah.
And he's asked about death. Bondi's asked about it here. There's also another strange death in Kiefer. This was the releases. They did two different releases. They released 500,000 pages in late December, and then the main stuff was January 30th. But then the first release in December, they found something in this latest batch. It was a tip that came. I told you about those tips that came into the FBI. One, like on the phone call, the phone number. One of them was about this girl who died, and they've actually followed up, and she supposedly shot herself, and they even have her name. Her name is oh shoot, it's on this EFTA thing, but they're like literally like, call the police. Incident is I can't. They will kill me on Christmas Day. Contacted state. She in fact called the police. Did not hear from them. They reached out stating he was dead, and she was found with her head blown off in Kiefer, Oklahoma. Officers on the scene stated there was no way it was a suicide. The coroner said it was a suicide, which is just like Chinatown. If you watch Chinatown, they just like, oh, suicide, or like write it off, accidental death.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. They said the same thing in this. I think they called this girl's death in Eyes Wide Shut suicide. So
have you looked into any of the testimony from the Epstein victims that discusses being experimented on, having medical procedures, things of that nature?
For sure. And there was one of them in New Mexico where she was put to sleep, and there were people who claimed that they had certain incisions done around the women, around their abdomen. And some of these files, like I mentioned earlier in the civil litigation files about these women, we're talking about their babies gone. Like, it seems like they're put to sleep or something, like they don't remember it. And so how much of the experimentation or things like Epstein was looking into that stuff.
Yeah.
He was curious about amnesia and mind control, and like different levels of mind control, and hypnotism and mesmerism. So how much of the experimentation or what they were doing to some of these people, I don't. Like you said, it's the victims' testimonies are talking about it. The one that I interviewed a girl about this book. I can't remember her name right now, but she believes she was experimented on in New Mexico. Gosh, I wish I could remember her name. She just published a book called Blue Butterfly.
Yeah.
I forgot her name, but she's on social media. This is just like Epstein, unredacted stuff, pictures of him with like infants and things, like very unnerving.
Yeah, where are these infants coming from? I always see him with different little children around him. Who the fuck is bringing their children around this guy?
It's very strange. I think this is a guy by the name of Glenn Dubin. So he seems to have a close relationship with him, and pretty strange. There's Barry Josephson, who lost his jaw. I think he was a actor or something. He was some kind of like film director, and all you need is a blood transfusion from the pack, and you reverse aging. So they're talking about blood transfusions and stuff, and then drugging. Scopolamine is another thing. Like, this is kind of like the truth serum drug.
Yeah.
He literally is talking about it. Ask Chris about my trumpet plants at nursery. They were growing scopolamine. It's called angel's breath, but they use it in Colombia, and it's a known thing. Like, if people travel to Colombia to like interact with prostitutes or easy, whatever you want to call it, woman of the night. There are stories about Western dudes or just men in general who are drugged and have all their stuff taken away. And then they come to a couple days later and they're like, what the heck happened? And
Yeah.
it's this angel breath scopolamine is the active agent. So Jeff had that. This is literally from his thing, trumpet plants. I mentioned earlier the massacre of the innocents, eyes wide shut type stuff. Stolen art. There's stolen art. There's Bannon with Epstein. Kind of this oversized desk, almost ridiculous sized desk, with the same kind of features in the final. Well, one of these final scenes in Eyes Wide Shut, like almost the same kind of
Yes.
gilded pictures and
Wow.
wood.
And I heard
panel.
speculation that Bannon may be some sort of dark magician or involved with the occult in a very significant way. Have you heard anything like this?
I have. They have. They had a very close relationship leading up to when Epstein got arrested. Bannon was kind of brought on board to kind of rehab Jeff's image, and they spent a lot of time texting each other. And so these texts, you can just see these text things. Like I've done a show on it. I did it with Tommy's podcast. But they're like talking, and their references are not Christian. They are, you are Beelzebub, you emulate Lucifer, you're like Mesmer, all the stuff. Epstein calls him treats him kind of like a dog, like attaboy, attaboy, Bannon. Like the way Epstein talked to Bannon, I would never let somebody talk to me like that. So he's kind of like putting Bannon down, but Bannon it seems to be like the guy trying to rehab his image. What I'm getting to is in one of these emails, they're talking about Dante's Inferno, which is, famous for the ninth level of hell, right? And they're talking, and Bannon's in Europe. He's going to Brussels, which is like the epicenter of a lot of really dark occultists, and is the head of the EU, where they're building like a building kind of like the Tower of Babel and the Dutroux affairs there. And they're talking about it. And then all of a sudden, Epstein says the ninth circle, and then they stop talking. People who know some of these secret societies they're talking about, there is a ninth circle secret society that involves human sacrifice. So I think that they actually were, Epstein was letting Bannon know that there is this, and Bannon has connections to like Knights of Malta and Italy and this Humanity, Dignity, which was supposed to be kind of a right wing. Like, he calls himself, he's rehabbed himself as a populist. That's kind of what, but there's kind of this overlying, like, you could call, I guess the left would call it a fascist ideology, like ideologues that go through his thought and what he hints at knowing about. Yeah. But the fact that these secret societies, there's a secret society in the UK called Killing Kittens, which is another one, which is not very like family friendly name. So they're mentioning a lot of the secret society stuff. So how much of Bannon is he involved with the occult? I think he knows a lot about the Knights of Malta, which, there's some talk about Savile's involved. It was a Knight of Malta, and some pretty sketchy characters, Himmler. Yeah. Dulles. There's a guy who wrote a thing about his occult bookshelf, so he's definitely involved in all that stuff. There he is, like sending something to Jeffrey. I told you about one woman in New York who's working with Tantra. Is it possible to visit her? I will ask if she is there. So they know, like he's a connections guy. He really is. Like his Rolodex, or I don't think they have Rolodexes anymore, but he's like really communicating with a lot of people.
Yeah.
From Jeff talking about Kundalini, prostate massage. I couldn't find anything about the one of the reason people think he was switched out is that he had a prostatectomy, which is they cut your prostate out. But I couldn't find evidence of that in the files.
Some of this stuff is being released as a demoralization factor to have society become desensitized to this information, to where eventually everybody has heard so much horrific, dark stuff that they're just give up and say that's the way it is. You can't do anything about it. They're too powerful. They eat babies. They're Satanists. What are you going to do? You just got to live your life. It seems like part of what is occurring with the slow release of the darkest information about people that will never answer for their crimes, it seems to be part of the situation here.
Sure does. It sure feels like that. It's like Eyes Wide Shut in Chinatown. We're like, it's Chinatown. This is the way it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting. Chinatown has all these themes that are like analogous to the Epstein files. Like this rich guy, he's kind of a Luciferian. He's involved in market manipulation. People end up dead in the water. There's murders. There's incest. Like it's really rough. And I feel like that's what's going on in this. And I think that this network, they've really concealed themselves. Like this was their exposure because Trump is very much in these files. Like I could do a whole show on Trump. Like he is lying through his teeth. I mean, he's a liar, but I mean, he when he says I'm not in the files, it's just a complete joke. So I think that these guys have gotten away with crimes for decades, and I think it's a real social problem. Like I was thinking the other day, we need to bring back witch hunters because it's like these people are like witches among us. Like, whoa.
Yes. With all the information that has surfaced and the lack of justice that we've been seeing, do you think it's possible that within our lifetime that anyone in these high levels will eventually answer for some of these crimes?
There would have to be massive political change. So, I mean, I think that what's happened is this corrupt network has put its people in there. So I think Biden was one of them, Trump, Bush for sure, Bush Jr. and Sr., who's mentioned in this, like eating cannibalism too, George Bush Sr., whether that's true or not, you know. But I think that they're like Trump was one of them, and he just disguised himself. So it would have to be some kind of radical change, like. But my answer, I'm not positive. I don't think so.
Yeah.
They can be tried in the public domain, you know, the public courthouse or whatever they call it. But I don't think they'll look into. I mean, these guys have too much at stake. They will fight to keep this stuff, you know, private. And I think there's so many dead bodies, man. It's really crazy.
Yeah, we're living in wild times. You've done some great research. Keep it up. Before we close out, remind everyone how they can get a hold of you, find all your content.
Yeah, I'm on William Ramsey Investigates podcast, 5 books on Amazon. You can buy them, signed copies of my books at my website, William Ramsey Investigates, and I'm on Patreon. I do a lot of stuff on Patreon where you can watch my stuff without ads.
Excellent. William, thank you so much. We'll definitely be doing this again. Until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We'll talk again tomorrow. Watch Doors of Perception, now on Amazon Prime. Are you and your family prepared for an emergency? Maybe the fake alien invasion? Now is the time to prepare yourself and your family for any event. Check out Prep Starts Now. Their mission is to provide high-quality preparedness products that empower individuals and families to be ready for any situation. They're committed to delivering reliable, trusted gear to ensure your safety, security, and peace of mind in times of need. Their product selection is carefully curated to provide you with the essential gear you need to stay prepared. From emergency kits to tactical tools, every item is chosen for its reliability and practicality. Prep Starts Now understands the importance of family, and their goal is to equip you with everything you need to build a solid plan for your family's preparedness. In today's ever-changing world, being prepared is more important than ever, and Prep Starts Now is here to help you and your family stay ready with quality products and practical guidance. Use the link in the description and get 15% off your order. Watch Doors of Perception, now on Amazon Prime. We live in an incredible age of information. More and more, we're discovering that we've been lied to, and misled about much of our human history. Corey Hughes is providing profound revelations about World War I, World War II, the JFK assassination, Martin Luther King's assassination, and much, much more on his new Substack, Bloody History. Subscribe now for as little as $5 monthly. Just click that link right in the description to get started now and learn about our true history. Hello friends, if you're looking to start your therapeutic microdosing journey, but don't know where to start, especially when looking for the highest quality ingredients, including nootropics, and what you'd expect from a true microdose capsule, check out our friends at Brain Supreme. They offer the absolute highest quality ingredients so you can start your microdosing journey, knowing that you're getting top-notch ingredients. To find out more, visit their website using that link right in the description, and you can get 15% off your entire order.